Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John's reports for the 7th. Well, we had quite an interesting day. The market didn't seem to react much to the chaos at the Capitol because everything looks still to be moving forward. There wasn't any likelihood that the results were going to change in any way, shape, or form. So the market's fine with that. The real question is the Senate balance, and that caused a little bit of bounce back and forth in the ranges. Still pretty extreme. The volatility, like we thought, would grow, but the reality is that the market's still under the devaluation construct. It's gonna keep pushing higher. Doesn't mean we're not going to have these, broad up and down moves. It's just, and that's really what we could expect going forward, is more volatility as there's cycling to different positions, winners and losers being picked. And that transition really is going to create the volatility. You can still see steel rising, pretty weak from long-term, short-term buyers. Overall, though, you still have shorts rising within this construct going up from the cyan rising. It will be enough to push everything down. The shakeout's already been negative, so the fact that prices held support pretty decently is impressive. Now, if you get a decay in that steel, then we could see some significant reaction to the downside. Of course, the euro continuing its pop, might see a little bit of retracing. It's still not positive extreme in any way, shape, or form, though, from the press, and that's just because the euro is not pushing as much stimulus as the United States is. Gold, back and forth on this. We had a couple of positive extremes, just filled those. So that was actually a healthy move for it. But again, this is going to be the question, will more stimulus come? That will certainly be the driver to gold intraday. Had to shrink it quite a bit to show what was happening. So it started off with some weakness. Then as things build, we get that usual dip below the zero. This one was initially a little bit, I was leaning more towards the short side on this, and then boom, we flipped around again to the dip finally below, because when orange doesn't cross below, I was a little more skeptical of it back over here. We look at it from there, but then right here, dips below with the green having maintained it, and a significant rising of the DOC red, and positive move on the shakeout, and sure enough, that was enough to start a tremendous rally to the upside, breaking through the previous ones. However, all positive extremes from right about here, and that put us right at that 37.32, and guess what we came down to? That fill of the positive extreme again. That initial rally, so came all the way back once it put in. You can look at this DOC spread that started right here. This was off of slightly lower shakeout, but huge underpinning from steel coming from below. By the time you ended up with the secondary version that happened right here, you're looking at a higher shakeout reading. This one became far more interesting because lower shakeout, matching highs, complete DOC spread. You don't have that steel coming from super low, which gives it plenty of momentum to the upside, and that one actually is what produced. Now, it still had a bunch of popping back and forth in between in each of those dips of steel coming below the zero, or, well, I usually call it like right about 0.5, and then the dip resulting in a nice pop. In this particular case, you always look for those cyan green divergences, and then it just kept bouncing back and forth. So it's pretty volatile, and those ranges were pretty enormous. So I would expect to see more of the same, at least from a range standpoint. We're already in, from the buy that started here, we got serious positive extremes already developing within the ranges that we already had. So gonna be fun. As always, though, I will post anything relevant on the Skype chat. Trade well.